Hello and welcome. In this video we will be covering painting the orc archers. As we did with the orc maulers, the bases have already been done and the basing of the skin was also done previously. As I am painting, I keep finding new details that I keep missing when I usually look at a miniature. An example of this would be on the boots. There is a armor panel. Actually, they're not even boots, they're more along the lines of greaves, as he's barefooted. I tried to add a bit of white to the brown in order to differentiate between the leather and the wood of the bow. I don't really think it's subtle, and I honestly don't see the difference, despite the fact that I added quite a lot of white. And on the palette, it was a lot lighter, the brown, a lot more bright. Redo all the steps for the next one. Yes, my biggest problem, keeping the minis on the support. I just have to get used to holding it either lightly or not push as hard with my brush. I'm hoping that with experience, basically all of this will come naturally to me. The trick is to find a balance between the amount of paint you want to take on a brush versus the risk you're going to take when it spills over your desired area, just like I did back there. I'm a very impatient person, and whenever I paint, I sort of wanted to get it done, not in the sense that this is a chore, rather, I want to see the finished product. So I often fill the brush with way too much paint and spill over, then I have to fix it, which actually prolongs the process. And as you can see, mistakes were made. Too much paint, big old mole on the thigh. From what I saw from other YouTubers and painters of miniatures, basically for every light color you want to paint over a darker primer or color, you're going to need two coats, as you can see in this video. And right here, the loincloth, I decided to go for a whitish, off-whitish thing. I think it's ivory, and it's going to give a very big contrast, and when we'll use Agrax Earthshade on it, it's going to look downright amazing. But it actually took around 3 coats for me to actually get it to a decent coverage. Also, what I really don't like is the groin area, where they just have this weird triangle. I think it's due to the fact that they were old minis and not much care was placed. It's not visible on the orc maulers, but these orcs really look weird, at least for me, with those big triangles between their legs, almost perfectly symmetrical insides. I didn't want to cut into the minis and damage them. I didn't know exactly what to do, so I just painted over that, and hopefully it's not too big of an issue. And right now, here is the point where I think my camera failed. The focus was way off. I don't know what happened, but it still worked. So it's a definite improvement from the overhead camera. For the quiver, I went with again the dark brown to simulate leather. I'm still not sure there is a difference between the bow, which I mixed white with the brown. Hmm. Also, I really need to find a way to hold my model so that the support does not come between the model and the camera, and you get a much better view of the miniature while it's being painted. There are still some kinks to be ironed out with the camera. And here you can actually see me fixing one of my mistakes, so with the eyes. And previous minis, I actually tried on humans to paint their pupils and their white eyes, the whites of their eyes. Yeah, I decided for these orcs that it would be much better, and since they are mostly in combat, it would be better for them to be under like bloodlust or something like that. Went with the red color only. Ah, mistakes. Where would we be without them? As I mentioned, this tiny little panel that I saw earlier, I decided to paint that copper as well to give the idea that the greaves were somehow armored a bit. Now, I just did a few LED virtual highlights of the armor pieces, which I thought would honestly look much better than if I just let them, like copper. In my opinion, made everything look much better. I think you can clearly see right here on this model the mold lines. I want to point out something. I know I'm supposed to clean those before priming, before everything. I should have. I didn't. They were primed. I didn't want to go back. I honestly didn't see them before priming them. The primer literally made them pop. But I went like, hey, you know what? These miniatures are gonna be your practice. You know not to do it. You will not do it for anything that is important. So just paint and get your hand ready for proper painting. And from now on, whenever you make new miniatures or when you assemble them, just make sure there are no mold lines. The hair and the feathers on the arrows I painted black. I was initially considering painting a different color for the arrows, but then I thought, he's an orc. He's definitely putting raven feathers on his arrows, not, I don't know, goose or anything else like that. So, yeah, definitely black. Let's go with black. And yeah, I definitely have not seen any blonde orcs. And you know how I mentioned before that ultimately towards the end you see details that you missed, you didn't see on the model before? Yeah, that necklace I saw literally at the last minute, and I went like, well, he would definitely have those teeth would definitely be white, and he would probably string it with a bit of a white string, just for contrast and for visibility instead of making another leather strap there. So I decided to paint it lovely ivory color, the string and the teeth as well. Another tiny armor panel over the knee, and we get the shading, and this is the part that I really enjoyed, especially on the loincloth. Damn, that shade really does work miracles. This time I went with Agrax Earthshade over the metals, especially because they're mostly copper, and this is a better solution for copper than null oil. Time to reveal the final product.